give you more knuckle.
あなたが産めなくて辛いのはわかるけどね。羨ましかった？だから誘拐したの？
そうね。憎かったかもね、母親が。
子供2人はあなたのことなんて呼んでました？ママ？お母さん
？Hello guys and welcome to If Live Were an Anime. Today I want to make a video that is a little bit less scripted and I just want to talk about my appreciation of a great film called Shoplifters by a Japanese director called kore-eda. And I thought I would be adding to the channel a little bit more content relating to films and books because I don't want to be the type of channel that just talks about one thing, and I think that different media gives you different levels of comprehension of art and society and life. So I think it is a great thing to diversify your taste, and I think this film Shoplifters it's a great place to start. I really love the movies made by this director Kore-eda. He really has this way of portraying normal daily life and family dramas in a way that is very unique. He doesn't need to shout or to really spell things out for the viewer. He just lets you live with these people and make your own assumptions, your own decisions about them. So let's start with this film. So Shoplifters. The film is about a so-called family. They're not blood related, but it's a grandmother, a father, a wife, a young son, and a young teenage daughter. But what we learn very early in the film is that this family, they have no blood ties, and there are a bunch of people that actually came together through necessity. They are all basically poor people who have no way to sustain themselves alone economically, so they kind of came together to kind of be able to live through each other. Like the grandmother gets a pension, the supposed young daughter works at some type of club where she does like a striptease, and the mother works at like this industrial laundry service. The father works odd jobs sometimes, and but most of the time he survives by shoplifting along with his young son. So this family, from the start, we know they live kind of on the edge of society with a lot of pressure, and they commit crimes. They don't hurt people directly, but you could say they shoplift. They steal food and stuff they can sell and stuff like that. So one night it's very, very cold, and the father and the son are coming back home, and they observe a little girl just like in the street, and they know this girl from the neighborhood. She must be like 7 years old, and it's freezing outside and there's no one there for her. And these people, the supposed criminal, the supposed bad people, and all of that, are the only people in the whole neighborhood that feel something for the little girl and help her. They take her home, they give her dinner, and they have the intention to return her the next night. But when they notice that this girl has marks of physical abuse on her, they really decide that she was abandoned in the cold. She has marks of physical abuse, and we can see that her mother is not taking care of her at all, doesn't care what happens to her. So they decided to adopt her. Basically, they changed her name and they treat her as a new member of the family. And this family is really a funny family, so warm. How they are not like lovey-dovey to each other, because they know they're not blood related, but in a way they're more family than your real family. They behave exactly like families would behave in a way. And the story is really a portrait of what do you think a good person is, a family is, what do you do and how do you live when society, turns its back on you. Because these people kind of live on the edge. They're not doing very well financially, but through helping each other, they kind of get along. But soon, all the things they do to survive kind of come back to haunt them. The young son has a lot of he kind of has a guilty conscience when he witnesses his father steal from a car, steal a purse, because he thinks that shoplifting is kind of a gray area. They will do shoplift to survive, but he thinks that actually stealing from people directly, that's pretty bad, and he starts to feel guilty, and he cannot just go along with the situation anymore. The rest of the family is also having problems. The old woman dies, and she's very happy that she, at least, although they weren't her real family, she got the opportunity to pass away accompanied by people that care for her somehow. The whole death of the grandmother and the guilty conscience of the son, watching the new girl, the adopted girl, called Lynn, starting to shoplift as well, it kind of creates tension between the son and the father. The son has never been able to call this man his father. He knows they're not his blood family, although I think the father really loves him like a father. Really, these people are living together with no blood ties, but they seem so happy with each other, so loving. They took this girl from the street, and the kind of love that they're expressing is so beautiful. It's like society is telling us that these are bad people, criminals. They do shady things. They do things that are not morally correct. But deep down, you can see that the reason they do these things is to survive, is to really survive. And beneath everything, they are causing harm, but it's not the kind of harm that a politician causes in one day by stealing the resources of some poor nation in Africa or Latin America or Asia. It's not the kind of hurt, powerful people make every day, big pharma corporations make every day. So as a normal person, you're really, really almost obliged to sympathize with the kind of situation that would put a person in such a necessity to turn to crime. And again, it's not the type of crime that you can directly see them hurt people. So it's you kind of let it slide. At least I did. I think I understand. If I were in that situation, I would be that kind of guy. I love the actor who plays the father. Now, this actor has worked with Kore-eda in many movies, and I've seen him in many other Japanese films because I love Asian cinema, and I will do a whole series on Asian cinema. But I really want to point out the amazing performance of Riri Frankie. That's the name of the actor. Sometimes they westernize it to Lily Frankie, but his name is not Lily. He's not a girl. The whole thing is that in Japanese and also in Chinese, if you're familiar with that, they make no distinction between the L and R sounds. So a lot of words in Japanese that have an R, you can pronounce them with an L and people will understand, and vice versa. So his name is Riri Frankie in Japanese, but it's westernized as Lily. So I just want to clarify that out. But this actor, I've seen him in other Kore-eda's films, and he's amazing. I love him. He's so great. There's another movie by Kore-eda, and I will add it to my series called Like Father, Like Son, where he also plays another father, and he's amazing. But anyway, back to Shoplifters. So we have this whole dynamic of the family. At one point, the father does get a job at a construction site, and you see, he doesn't like to wake up early and do construction at 40-something years old. It's really hard work, and a few days after, he gets an injury, and he is able to collect disability for the injury. Obviously, we know the injury is cause, like he harmed himself to get the injury and be able to collect the money for that injury. And I think, you know, if I was in his situation, I would do the same. I have no problem with that. Like, people who have had to survive any way they can, you know, not everyone is made to do hard labor. Hard labor destroys your body. So I kind of sympathize with his cleverness and what he has to do. Like, he may be a scoundrel, he may be, you know, have some gray areas in what he does to survive, but at the end of the day, he saved this little girl from the street when the police didn't do it, when the government didn't do it, when thousands and thousands of rich people didn't do it, when normal people didn't do it. You had to go through, like, the only person who showed compassion was the people who are supposed to be the bad guys, the poor, or the working class, or the people who get by. They have no formal education, they have none of the advantages that most people have, and they were the ones that show compassion and saved this little girl and saved each other as well. Because we'll learn this video is gonna be filled with spoilers, so please watch the movie. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, amazing film. I think it's one of my favorite films of all time. But anyway, we learn in the movie that the young son, Shota, also was saved by the couple. They found him locked in a car on a very, very hot day. So they basically broke the windows car to steal a purse, and then found the kid, and they took him with them. And anyway, later in the story, we'll also learn that both the husband and the mother had committed a murder, and it was a crime of passion. The wife's first husband was very abusive, and the character played by Frankie, the husband, the actual husband, but at that time the boyfriend of the woman, or whoever he was at that time, I don't know if they were together, but he killed the abusive husband for the woman, and that's how they started their life together. At some point in the story, Shota, the young son, gets so uncomfortable with stealing that he lets himself be caught stealing. He kind of on purpose makes a mistake, and by he runs away, gets a broken leg, and the police caught him, and then they try to catch the entire family, and they do, and they notice that the older woman, the one who died from natural causes, was buried under the floor in the house. So they try the family for murder, but it is not, you know, the woman died of natural causes. They just buried her in the home, you know, fully well, and she was okay with it, that they will be still collecting her pension. So there are a lot of relationships in this family that at the beginning we don't see, but actually their past are somewhat connected, although they don't know it, and it's very, very interesting to find that out. So I'm not going to spoil that, but I'm going to say that there's a very impactful scene, very powerful scene, where the police has caught the remaining of the family, the father, the mother, the young son, the young daughter, and the little girl, and they're trying to pitch them against each other. They're trying to say, you know, your family was gonna abandon you, you know, they don't love you, they just care that you bring them money, etc. So at one point they are not able to make the family turn on each other. The wife actually takes all the blame because she knows that she will probably get a lesser sentence than the husband, and they kind of all accept their fate, knowing that once they get out of prison, they will try to get back together. And there's one scene in which the police is questioning the husband, and they tell him, you know, you taught these kids to shoplift. Shouldn't you feel guilty? You're a criminal. You taught them to survive by stealing. And the way the actor delivers this line is so beautiful. He just says angrily, like with a sense, with the expression on his face being, are you judging me? You're judging me, you hypocrites? But he really says in like honest anger and honest desperation, he looks them in the eye and he says, I taught them that. because it was all I know.
子供に万引きさせるの後ろめたくなかったですか？
俺他に教えられることが何にもないんです。
And I love how he delivered that line. I love that way that this tells us basically that they had to do what they had to do because society had closed up all opportunities for them. They were outcasts. They were a family that came together through desperation, through not wanting to be alone, through not wanting to die in the cold. Like they found that little girl at the beginning of the movie, and they were the ones that helped the girl because the police wanted to charge them with kidnap because of the little girl, which technically by law they did kidnap the girl, but we know morally, we know what they actually did was save her life from parents that did not care for her. If they hadn't done that, that little girl would be dead, on the street on that cold night, and that little boy would be suffocating in a locked car somewhere from some people who didn't care for him, and that old woman would be dying alone. So we see that another powerful scene is that throughout the whole story that the young boy is never able to call the man his father, but some time passes, the woman is still in prison, they both visit her, both the father and the son is now living in an orphanage, and he breaks the rules of the orphanage and goes visit his father, and he spends the night with him, and he asks his father, the police told me that when they were trying to catch you guys, you were running away, mom or the wife and the two daughters, and you were gonna leave me. And he says, because at the time he was under police custody, and he asked his dad, were you truly going to leave me? Were you just going to run away and leave me there with the police? And the father says, yes. He cannot lie to his son, and he tells him the truth. And at the next morning, the son has to go back to the orphanage, and he does. And we see that the father is waving goodbye to him, and we see that the son finally calls his father. And the whole end of the movie is this beautiful moment between this young boy and this man, that all this love that they had shown each other as a family, and all their hardship and everything they had been through, survived and actually became stronger. But the movie is also a very powerful social critique, I think, of capitalist society. At this time when Shoplifters came out, there was a very, very popular movie that came out as well called Parasite. It's a South Korean film. It deals with the same topics, but more in a dark comedy way. It's about some poor South Korean family, working class family, trying to live through a rich couple or a rich family, and how they try to deceive this rich family. And the whole critique of that movie, Parasite, is who is the real parasite? Are the rich the parasites or the poor? And Parasite was huge, won an Oscar and everything. But I think that Shoplifters is a better movie in my opinion, because Shoplifters is more subtle in its critique. It's not really telling you what you should think, but it's just showing you how this family gets by through shoplifting, through stealing, through lying, through faking injuries, through harassing people, through selling their bodies, through extortioning people, etc. So it's kind of just showing you what normal people are subjected to, how their humanity is, their dignity is affected by this economic situation. But through all of that, through all the horrible things they have to do, there is genuine family love between them. There is that type of love and care that rich people don't have, like most middle class people don't have. They're a real family. These are all people who got abandoned by their real family, and they managed to create their own family. So I think the whole critique of the movie is very subtle. It's not in your face about it, and that's what makes great cinema. That's what makes a great story. So I really want to introduce you to this film, and I want to introduce you to the filmography of Hirokatsu Kore-eda. I will be talking about the rest of his films as well, and making a whole series. I think, again, I really want to be the type of channel that exposes you to different ideas, not just one media, not just anime, not just animation, because I think that at the end of the day, I want us to be the type of people that think, feel, and live deeply. And anime, because it's an industry, it's there to make money, will not give you the whole range of the human experience. It will not expose you to the problematic ideas and the ideas that make society feel uncomfortable. So in the way I talk about manga, the way I talk about anime, films, and books, it will be a true exposition of what these works were meant to be, their ideas, even if they're not popular, even if they don't conform to, random empty entertainment. I don't want you to be the kind of people who watch anime all day and don't think about nothing. I really want you to explore different ideas, explore different media. Don't just be a consumer, be a thinker. So please go watch any Hirokatsu Kore-eda film, go watch Shoplifters, please, and get your own ideas. And that's basically my whole thing about this video. It's more unscripted this time. Sorry guys, I was really busy, extremely busy with work and other stuff. So I really sympathize again with this movie, because it's also a critique of what being a worker is truly like. Nobody likes it unless you have a pretty cool job, which I don't. But anyway, that was my opinion on this film. Highly recommend it. It's a masterpiece. So go watch it, and thank you for listening.